Alright everybody, this is going to be a booger to videotape. Don't holler at me. Yeah, I got key chuck in there. Don't care. Number 2 is out of gear. Number 1, the master stop's killed. And besides that, I got my safety squints on, so I'm alright. Oh, sunshine. How's everybody doing today? It's just a hot day. It's a Sunday. It's a fun day. I just released a video on cutting a squish or cutting a base on a cylinder and on a mini lathe, and the reason I needed to do that is I reshaped the top of the piston, and I took the piston down so it'd match the squish better, and that's something that had to be done basically for fuel consumption and a good proper burn, guys. So what I want to show you is how I did it. Now, I told you in that last video, find a socket that fits the bore. This here's an inch and a quarter. It's an Allen brand. Another brand may not fit it. And I also mentioned, you know, like where that's upset, says Impact right there, says Allen, the brand right there, and USA and 1 1/4, and then the part number 35072. Point of it is, they stamp that in there, roll that in there, and that upsets that metal. It swells that. Anytime they're pushing metal in, by upsetting that, it swells the metal around it. So you got to take that off. And this cylinder here, so you guys can holler at me, don't holler at me, I don't care. I'm basically recreating some stupid stuff right here, right? I'm not going to zero this or anything else because it doesn't matter for today's video. What I'm going to show you is how I cut squish on a mini lathe, and I'm going to show you some of the problems with it. And before you say, well, just get a bigger lathe, no, I grew up doing what I could, doing with what I had. If I needed to dig, and I have, if I needed to dig 3-foot ditch 200 yards long and we had a shovel, that's what we used. So don't say, you know. Anyhow, I digress. Now, there's some inherent problems on here on these mini lathes. Number 1, the cross slide here is just terrible. Your compound slide. What this is a set of dovetail, and there's an adjustable wedge right here. It's got 3 grub, or well, they're not grub screws, they're set screws, and you adjust that in. You can take up that play on them ways pretty good, but the problem is if this center one isn't at least past the end of this dovetail, right now it's okay. I can sense just a little bit of movement in there. If I was to get in a little bit closer, it's not too bad. Now, I think you guys will probably actually be able to see it. I'm going to run this out like as far as I have to cut this base, and you can just see it as I'm turning it. Why, that's rattling around in there like marble in a fruit jar, right? And it's still in there, and we still have not got to where we can adjust that. We're just now getting where we can adjust that, and comes off, and it comes off. And the 2 screws to adjust that are right here and right here. And you can loosen those up, and you can put just a little bit more angle on your slide, or less angle, or whatever, right? Well, that brings me to right here, and I'm going to get it out of the way. This handle here on most of these mini lathes will not clear the lead screw here, right? This handle hits right here. If you was to set this compound slide at 90 degrees, you can no longer feed it with the 90-degree feed. Matter of fact, it's probably set over at about 70 degrees right now, and you still can't feed it with the 90-degree feed. Now, right there it hits, and I'm at about 65 degrees. 25 off of 90. Yeah, I'm at about 65 degrees. And I can't quite do this turn. So that's kind of a bad deal. All right. And in order, like I say, now I'm gonna run back. In order to get this cross slide, well, there, I just forgot, I gotta tighten this down a little bit. You gotta run this all the way back to adjust that cross slide to expose those 2 bolts right there. Oh, you just gotta run it all the way back, and I'm not tightening them down much, just snugging them just to show you. So we can clear right here right now, right? But you can just see this thing wobbling as I turn the feed there. And it gets up in, oh, we'll probably get 10 or 15 more turns on it before we ever quit wobbling. We're wobbling not too bad, okay? And we're all the way back on the 90-degree slide. All right, so I can't come back anymore without coming back on this cross slide. And as you come back on the cross slide, it gets looser and looser because that dovetail's no longer in there. So what you have to do there is you take your little 8mm wrench, you back this up to where it's gonna stay, and you back your 8mm wrench off and you tighten that grub screw in, and you seat that deal into that, and you basically just lock it in place. And then you can't really turn this anymore. Well, see, but it does allow you to work on a 90-degree. Okay, so that's something we can work around. That is a workaround, so that's not too bad, right? Well, I don't know why I got that tight. It don't need to be that snug right now, because I'm just going around here. I'm going to show you what we did to fix this too. Now we're just going to pick an arbitrary holder here. Now we're back to where we had to do that grub screw, right? Or basically, we're getting close. Well, this bit, well, let me get one. You guys are making me think. Oh, there it is. I set it over here. You guys, I'm not trying to set this up. And you can see I've got this cutter. Oh, I can move it back another 1/4 inch, right? We'll throw in with that. I could gain some. I can't even clear my socket yet, and I'm all the way back here and not quite all the way back here. Now if I get back to here, see, there's where I got to go to get to clearing this, right? Well, now what we run into, yeah, we cleared our mandrel, but we have not even begun to clear the outside corner right here, right? Now we've basically cleared that corner, but due to the angle and everything I'm setting on, you're like, how come you ain't turned that all the way around? Well, it's hitting this fin right here is hitting my cross slide right here, okay? So that means my cross slide needs to come over to clear that, right? We'll throw in with that, right? And now we can clear that, okay? We'll go back out to where we can't clear it, because that's basically how you're setting up this mini lathe. You're going to where you can't clear it anymore and bringing it back. Okay, I can't clear it. Now bear in mind, if we're taking all 50 thousandths, I need 50 thousandths from where I won't clear it to be able to travel my bed that way, right? Well, now I need to be able to come in here, right? So, and I can't clear this. I still can't clear this corner yet. Just barely can't. And I can turn it over here to where I can clear it, right? But I'd have to move my bed that way. We can't move our bed that way or we're gonna hit a fin. So I'm here. So what I've got to do is I've got to bring that back just a little bit more until I can clear that, right? Throw in with me there. All right, we're where we can clear that. And let's say, for argument's sake, that, I don't even remember where I was going here a minute ago. Let's say, for argument's sake, that I can clear this and we can start making our cut in, right? Well, now, I hope you guys are in an angle, and if you ain't, I'll move you. Now, I'm gonna back up. Well, here, I know how we can do it. We're right here where we can clear it, right? And we're already back here loose. So what do we tighten them grub screws, but I'm gonna get this out of the way just so you can see. Now I haven't moved this. Now as we move this in, and we're gonna have to move that in the depth of this corner, we'll say about 3/4 of an inch. And we're back against here, we're all the way back. So by the time we move that in 3/4 of an inch, we'll just look for about 3/4 of an inch gap there. And you can see what's going to happen, right? This corner is going to hit our guide, or it's going to hit the protruding part of the mill, right? Eventually, and I don't care if I tear up this cylinder or not. Okay, that hit the protruding part of the mill right there, and we got nowhere near as much. Well, let's just measure. What do you measure with? I don't know, your finger and a stick. We got about that much there, and so we're about that much short of being able to reach that bit all the way to the inside before this hits on the corner of our cylinder. See my plan? So how do you combat that? Well, you get the right wrench and you straighten this out a little bit. Now it'll clear again, right? Oh, now it hits the intake. And you can't turn it this far because all this side here, whenever I turn this, will hit this, and now I can't go that way far enough. Guys, if you got a mini lathe, suffice it to say you got a bad problem right here in this cross slide. Trying to get everything to work out. Well, I had an idea, and you know what? Scratch that. I had an idea, but I'm not going to claim credit for it. I'm going to give credit where credit's due, because I never said nothing to nobody. So therefore, the first person to speak up gets it, right? He gets credit. I don't know if he wants credit. He's getting credit. That's House Power Saws. I hope I got that 100% right. He's always on my channel, always commenting, offering good stuff, sometimes just saying, hey. All right, so here's where your cross slide mounts, right? And I was thinking this, but he's getting credit because he mentioned it, and he mentioned it out loud, and then that inspired me today to make a video. So where we got this problem is this dadgum cross slide just causes us so much grief, and it gets in the way. It gets in the way of doing other things. The only time I really need this compound slide, I'm sorry, I keep calling this a cross slide. This compound slide, that's cross slide. The only time I really need this is I used it the other day for cutting an angle on a piston, right? And you know, honestly, sometimes cutting an angle, if it's not critical, I'll just move these both at once. Your mind's eye will do a pretty good job. Now, so what's a guy do? How about build something like this? Okay, and this is just something I cobbled together on a Sunday afternoon in the heat, and we cut her off with a chop saw, and we don't even care. I had some thicker metal, but I had some thinner metal that I didn't have to carry so far. I had some 1.5 inch thick stuff, but it's a 20-foot joint of it. So this is, we'll say, quarter, and it's 6 ply. There's 4 and 2, and of course, I just milled a little hole in there that'll fit this stub that sticks up. That kind of centers it to make your bolt holes easier to line up. And then I drilled my bolt holes, and then I milled, I just went down there with an end mill and milled out 10 millimeters so it'd clear that bolt head, right? So now what we can do is we can lay this cross slide on here. Got my head right in your way, don't I? I'm sorry. I'm trying to mount you guys to where you can see it, and plus I can show you. Now, and I don't have to mount it too solid. So, and I'll tell you guys another thing. When I milled this other cylinder, this one's junk. It's just here for demonstration. When I milled it, I actually had to put a ring. There was no way to get it to mill right here. I actually had to put another ring up there so it was an end-to-end friction drive. So it actually moved it back to there, give or take, so I'd have time. If you want to watch the video, you can see there's a lot more socket showing than there is now. That's because I had to put a spacer in there to take that up. Now, House Power Saws, he says today, because he's seeing my video, and I didn't show necessarily all the struggles, but I did illustrate it had to be, you had to get everything right. It's getting this set up. It's like putting a 16-foot hay mower through a 12-foot gate. It'll go, but you better have everything lined right up, right? All right, so where are we at now? Well, we're going to take this. We built this here up, and we got about the same distance from there to there. And with a changeable With a quick change, that distance isn't critical because you can adjust here, right? And you can see I'm almost all the way down. I don't know if this didn't fit my mill good or what. Well, I know it didn't fit my lathe. I don't know if, put it this way, it did not fit my lathe good. I'd actually took that to the mill and milled this down shorter because I was running out of thread here, so it didn't bother me to build that just a little bit shorter, right? All right, so that's milled there, got the bolt holes. I just drilled and tapped that. Didn't have a 10 millimeter, so we got 3/8 national course on it, which will work, especially for my purposes right here. Now, and you'll notice that's still loose. I want that loose right now. We're just not tight, that's all that is. Now, you know what, let me get that off of here. This whole thing, I can go, I'm still as far out as I can go here, right? That's basically the end of my travel. But I got all kinds of travel right here before I ever get into that. See, and that's another reason to step this down right here. Number two, the bolts are short. And C, you want to be able to get under stuff, right? So that's only as thick as what the bolt heads are recessed into it, but it needs to be that thick for the bolt heads anyway, right? We'll throw in with that. All right, now we'll throw this back on here. Now remember that other one, anytime I needed to adjust these hold down bolts that, now let me tighten that down just enough to show you what I'm jabbering about. There we go. We remember anytime we needed to adjust these bolts right here, right? We had, there's a biter. Ha, he's coming in here to wasp sting me. Anyhow, anytime we needed to adjust them two bolts here, we had to back that cross slide all the way out to where it wouldn't even grab anymore. We basically had to take it off and then move that a little bit, put it all the way back in, see if that's right. If it ain't right, you take it all the way back off, you move it a little bit more, and you put it back on. We fixed that problem too. And notice I don't even have to have a spacer ring now. Now I gotta loosen this back up to show you, but I can turn this and I'm into there. Now, we don't have enough travel. We'll say we don't have enough travel in between right here and right here to go all the way in, right? Well, how do we combat that? And number two, this corner of this cutter is going to hit before this corner is done cutting, so that's no good. So we need to straighten that up, but we can't move this way because the fin right here is going to hit this slide, right? So we can't move that way. So that one's loose. So we loosen this in here up and we just twist them both like a daggum crazy wheel. Look at that. Now all of a sudden I get to come this way. I could snug everything down right there and it's not even that critical. I do take that off to get, depending on where it's at. I can get, excuse me, I can get to my bolts. I can snug them down. I can throw my deal back on here. Now, and I can, yeah, I ain't tightening nothing up good, guys, but you get my drift. I can come this way now, and now we know we got all kinds. I can get plumb in as far as I need to get, and I'll not hit anything, just so easy. Now I've helped myself with a thing or two. I've got more purchase area here on that cylinder on this, we're gonna call it a mandrel, right? So we helped that up. Now we're all the way in. I'll turn that, I really don't want to cut into it too much just to show. It's because, and I'm not zeroed, so, and I'm not gonna zero. But now I can push this all the way in, and you can see I can clear everything. This thing that House Power Saws said is the bee's knees. I don't see why God would want to be without one. It didn't take much to make it up. I just cut off some strips of metal, put a little weld on them, ground it off because I happened to be I weld everything with most of my MIG stuff. I weld with a spool gun. I was standing on the hose. I'd shut the argon off to it by standing on the hose because I got a mess over here, and it looked like Gorilla had done flung boogers at it with a plastic spoon. So we ground it all off. Had it not been for that, I'm the kind of guy that's usually using stuff before the welds are cool. But guys, suffice it to say, what I'm getting at is we can get in here and we can cut this base now. We can cut this daggone base. I'm touching the base and I'm up against it, and I got that far. I could cut that whole base plumb off there now before I ever got into that fin. And you don't like it? Why, she's no problem to adjust. You can adjust these two parts independent. Now, he talked about making a spacer, and he didn't jabber too much on it, don't get me wrong. He just said a spacer, and I don't know if he was putting a spacer block there just straight down through that, but I thought a little bit of a tang would be a good thing for two reasons. It needed to cover up that the part that rotates under there, right? I don't want shavings getting under there. And number two, I didn't want to have to take nothing loose to get to the bolts. Now I don't have to take nothing loose to get to those two bolts. I can snug them down wherever they need to be. I can run this. I can snug that down independent. Guys, appreciate all the comments down there. Guys, all I can tell you is I appreciate the comments down there. Pay no attention to the mess and the wasps behind me. What I'm trying to say is this one of the subscribers, one of the viewers, whatever you call it, one of my friends. It's one of my friends' ideas, and I'm just showing it. Now, he may want to show it he may want to show it too. I don't know. Hope I ain't stepping on nobody's toes. We talked about it. It's a hot Sunday. I just went with it. Guys, I hope this helped you doing lathe stuff with a mini lathe on cutting bases, things like that. I'll show you cutting squish band another time, and I got some real good tricks for that. And I'll also show you thinning rings, the circumference of a ring, the inner circumference of a ring. I've got a deal set up for that on this mini lathe. It is awesome. So there's a couple more things coming. This is the one that struck me today. I've already got the squish one on the next cylinder recorded. We'll play that when we get ready to move to the next cylinder. I'll show you that one, guys. If I earned it, give her the old hitchhiker. If I didn't, give her the old Julius Caesar. If you think about it, subscribe. I appreciate it. We're trying to grow the channel. It ain't putting no money in my pocket. Don't even care about that. I just want to share this with more people, guys. And you're the more people. If you're a new person, like me, subscribe. Just comment. You know what? I'll tell you what. If you don't want to subscribe, I would trade you a comment for all the subscriptions out there. I love the comments. Thanks, guys.